Hello, everyone. My name is James Strong. This is the SIG networking subproject for InGate. It is March 21st. We are a CNCF project, so that means we adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct, which essentially means be nice to each other. If you have any issues, please report those to myself or Marco or our fabulous SIG network lead, Shane. With that, we can go ahead and get started. We have Marco, you're a new member. You haven't had a chance to introduce yourself to the project. And Omar, if you want to introduce yourself and say your interest in the project, it's fine. If not, we can go ahead and just roll into some thoughts.
Should I start or Marco?
You can start.
Yeah, I can start with it. So yeah, you might know me. I've already been working on the Ingress and Nginx project for a while now. And so since James was kind to start the InGate project, I'm companioning him. Yeah, currently maintainer, so contact me whenever you have issues or feature requests, whatnot. Yeah, it's me.
Okay then. So my name is Omar, and I kind of watched the YouTube talk for KubeCon when James introduced the InGate, and I see that new project is going on. So I want to kind of join and see if I can contribute. So mainly I work as an SRE. I don't contribute so much to open source, but when I find the issues, I try to contribute. So now this is like a new project. I feel like it's good to try contributing from the beginning to have context. I've been using the Ingress Nginx for a while. And yeah, happy to see the InGate project kicking off.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining. And yeah, there's a lot to do. There's a lot for us to discuss, and we can go ahead and get started on that. I don't think we had too many action items. We know that we gave Elizabeth the fun task of starting the Nginx container build. I have slaughtered the documentation site PR because I don't know how merges work. So I'm still working on that. I think I'm pulling a Ricardo and just using my Sundays as open source Sundays to just sit and work through things, because I don't know about you all, but coding and dealing with customers all day, it's kind of hard to do open source work at 8 o'clock at night. So I'm just dedicating my Sundays to that. So I'll get the documentation site fixed and continue working on the initial skeleton build for the containers and everything. I think we're a little too soon for this one. I was thinking about it this morning. Issues for working the ingress to gateway. We can create the issue and have the conversation, because I think we've talked before. We've got that whole spreadsheet of the annotations in ingress, what's in gateway, what's unknown, and what we're not going to migrate. And the things that are in gateway, we would have to have some kind of functionality in ingress to gateway. So I think until we've determined, like finalize that list, we can't really work on ingress to gateway code until we have something to, some kind of conversation there. So I can create the issue, but I don't think we can really assign anybody to start working on it until we finalize that list. So that's my thoughts on that one. Any comments? No? Okay.
Not sure if updates on action items like mine are expected right now or maybe later.
If you have one, I don't want to put you on the spot. I just kind of figured I was gonna walk through like my skeleton PR of like what my thoughts are, and let Marco like rip me on a recording about how bad my make file is. So we can talk about what we're working on. I also thought we need to start a document on what our gRPC API is going to look like for the communication between the pod and the Nginx fleet, or the controller in the Nginx fleet. So that's a document that we need to start. We can talk about our PRs. We have the discussion for the communication. I mean, if we're going to use gRPC, we're obviously going to need certificates. So there's just lots of things to talk about, and we can see where folks want to go. I know my container build stuff is probably going to impact what you're doing, so I kind of want to get it done and in. My goal and my objective for it was to get like a gateway class in there, but I realized once I started working on the PR that there's a lot of code that is not code for the actual controller. So all of the make files, building everything, getting everything up and running. So that was fun. So we can talk about
doing all
if
that
you're
on
ready.
time.
What? Yeah, we're gonna do it in kind. And I was looking at Cilium and Envoy Gateway. Envoy Gateway uses Metal LB for the deployment onto Kind. So I was gonna get us to that point of have a Kind cluster up and running with Metal LB,
Yeah,
with the CRDs installed. So that's kind of where I want to end the involvement. I
Yeah,
have
that's
like
what we did for. That's what we did for Blix. That's what we do right now for Blix.
Okay. So if mine starts breaking, I'll go either talk to Duffy or I'll go look at how you all are building it. But that's my goal for Sunday, is to at least have that PR finished so that we can have the Go controller built and have the Docker image, like the initial Docker image, deployed onto Kind with Metal LB. So I don't think the gateway class is going to be, that's like an extension. So I'm going to probably rename the PR and just get it as a skeleton up there so that other folks, as we need other images, can use that as well. Because right now the two main that we have will be the controller and Nginx. So this is the one I'm talking about. It's a lot. It's a lot just because it's a lot of files. Just looking at just producing a very basic base image, because fortunately the controller we can also run on distroless. So that's one of the other things. I'm just kind of making decisions on the fly as we're working through this. It's just going to be a Go binary. We don't need anything else. So distroless just makes sense. Our Nginx image obviously will probably still have to be on Alpine, because we're going to have to run the Nginx binary and the Go API. And another like design decision that I was looking at, I know we had issues a lot with like versions updates, and I wanted to put like at least the major versions of like what we're working on and running through. So like the Golang version is just an update to the file, and then we rebuild all of the images. So it's just a one, like update one file and go through that, the InGate version. So I was putting all of those in a separate repo as files. If we wanted to do something more fancy, like put it in Go, put it as a configuration option, things like that. I was just trying to make it easier to say, you know, we're using release 1.2. This is the version of Golang. We'll probably have a version of Nginx in here. And then we can just drive all of our major software dependencies from these files. Because then we go look at, where's the make file? Go look at the make file, right? InGate version. We're just reading in the versions of Golang, everything. Makes it pretty simple, easy, straightforward. Yeah. Marco, you went off mute.
Yeah, didn't have the resources to take a look into the PR yet, but hopefully we'll do so this weekend.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping to have it finished on Sunday.
Yeah. So as soon as you're fine with your work and as soon as you can tell, okay, it's open for review, I would start going deeper into it. Just some thoughts and learnings from the past regarding like versions and images and so on. I'd be interested in maybe using something like Renovate or Dependabot, and so let all the versions being updated by such tooling instead of having them in files, because sometimes it's not easy to include these files. Not all of them. I think in some places it's definitely worth using them, but in others I'd rather head for some, either it's configuration based for Dependabot, and for Renovate I only know you can also add, or you can use annotations right in the code if it's configured for that. That would be interesting, but I haven't managed to take a good look into that yet. And
Okay.
regarding Docker files, what do you think about actually compiling everything inside the Docker file? Because that would probably make it a lot easier for people, and also for us, because then we would not depend on the platform, the Go version, whatever they have installed, and it's just, there is Go as a builder, and
like
I
doing
think
the-
we're
Doing all of
exactly.
these inside of a Docker file. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Something like
the one
this.
thing I don't, yeah, I agree. I don't want us to have like the repeat of like the test runner, because a lot of the stuff was doing like the build in Docker or in the test runner, because then we have like Docker files or Docker files as well. So it's like, we can have like just do it from like a base Go like image, or just a Docker whatever we need for that. And so just try to keep it as minimal as possible. I don't want to build like a utility container to do all of this work in.
No, me neither. But
Yeah.
right now in the main file we have Go build, for example. I would not do this inside.
Just have a Docker build.
I would
and
have exactly, that's it. So
Yeah.
all you need is Docker, and then you're done.
Okay. Yeah, I'll create like a Docker file build, and then just use that to build the Go image, and then just stick it into the distroless one, because then it's just a Go binary. So okay, that's fine.
Because right
Yeah.
now, if I saw this correctly, we are depending on the Go binary or the binary.
That's
the controller
that's on
binary
the,
to be pre-built and then being copied inside in the Docker file, and instead I
Yeah.
would just build it inside the Docker file, and then. But I'm not 100% sure how this works best. It's just my thought, because then we are not depending on Go being installed in whatever version and whatnot.
yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's a good point. I mean, from kind, we would expect folks to have kind. That's just kind of, that just makes sense from a developer's perspective.
Yeah.
The other thing that I like, that as I'm doing all of this, I thought it would be helpful to keep this updated, because then when we ask contributors to start working with us, they know exactly what's being done. So like if they want to understand where the controller like code is, because sometimes I keep saying this, I don't want to repeat like sins of the past, like, you know, it's an 8-year-old project, but it's like as we build things, so it's like the chart obviously is for the Helm chart, the command line, versions, like I just want to document what packages are doing and why. I don't know if we want to do that in like, we just want to do like a high level of like the tools, like it's used for development, where the make files can be, things like that. I want to make sure that as we're building these things out, like what they're for, because sometimes I get confused in looking at what's for the controller, what's for ingress, what's for Nginx, and I just want to make it easier for new folks.
Yeah, totally agree with you. On the other hand, I'm just a bit afraid of that code in the end, because people are not maintaining stuff if they don't know about it, and so it should be right in the place where they change something. And that's also why I was thinking about having the versions being bumped by Renovate, Dependabot, whatnot, directly in place.
So folks don't have to think about it.
And so whenever someone's putting in a PR and there is a pinned version or a hard-coded version, that should be a red flag to us and tell, okay, have you thought about how this is getting updated. And so kind of the same for the layout. I think it's not a long time ago when I took a look into the images directory. There's still a README in there, but it's heavily outdated. We're listing images in there which are not in there anymore, and the other way around. So
yeah.
documentation is good, but it should not be spread across spread across the whole project somehow. And
Yeah, that's why I liked
also,
having this one file.
Yeah, sure. And also, if something is changing, then yeah, I don't know how to solve this right now.
Yeah, it was just a thought to just keep clarity. So
Yeah,
when
sure,
new
sure.
folks like Omar come in, they're like, if I want to add authentication, where do I go?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the general idea of just like things that I'm working through thinking about with this one. Lots of things that aren't really gateway API. It's just maintainer things that I know that we've had issues in the past. I'm trying to make it easier for us to make releases quicker, make updates faster, and just work through all of that. So that's what I'm just trying to keep in mind. So, okay. All right. So that's me. Elizabeth, I don't want to put you on the spot. If you want to talk about the Nginx build, how it's going, that's up to you. If you want to wait till the next call, that's fine. I again didn't set that expectation.
Yeah, no worries. I think I can give a small update. I would have liked to have this quicker, but that hasn't been possible. But I think I could have at least a working minimal version at least for our next meeting. I'm now kind of trying to work on setting up the whole cloud build pipeline, that kind of stuff. I might ask you for I might ask you some questions, James, if that's all right. And I do have a bigger question for everyone. Basically, I know we were trying to keep the Nginx build as lean as possible, and I'm a bit like, right now I'm doing it with the minimal possible, only Nginx and NJS, and basically nothing more. But I think it would be a good idea to start thinking about some other stuff that we might, that it might actually also be necessary. Like, I don't know, modules like the GOIP one. There's some that I'm also including, like the SSL one, the streams one. But it's like I'm worried about not being too subjective, and I would like some insight when it comes to that.
Yeah, regarding modules, whatnot, I'm not sure which ones we actually need right now. That's pretty unclear still. But overall, it would be nice not to have the struggle we had in Ingress Nginx, where we manually build everything from source. And so I think it would be awesome. Some modules are also being maintained in the Alpine, for example, Alpine package sources. And so if we could get to just APK install in the end, or APK add actually, that would be awesome, because then we would not need to maintain them. I think what was also an issue in the past is dependencies being shipped inside images, pre-prepared or pre-existing images, like curl. So if there's curl inside, it might be difficult. And therefore, we kind of need to find a balance. I mean, it's probably very hard to build Nginx and copy over everything you need to a scratch image, because then we would not have any dependencies we don't need, which then could be affected by CVEs. But on the other hand, it's hard to maintain. So yeah. Also, regarding Nginx, I think there are multiple images out there. I'm not sure if we are, correct me if I'm wrong, allowed to actually use the Nginx image if it's maintained by Nginx Inc. Needs to be checked somehow. Yeah,
Yeah, that I
that's
wasn't
just my
commenting
thought.
on. That's interesting because I hadn't considered the possibility of just using pre-built modules. Right now, I was still doing the whole compiling from source. Yeah, I think I don't know. I guess it's just a matter of how much can we trust Alpine's repositories and what kind of advantages does compiling our own stuff gives us. Like it will make build time a lot longer, that's for sure, but I don't know if that's really that much of a concern.
Yeah, not only a lot longer, sadly. I think if I would count the hours I spent on fixing
Troubleshooting, yeah.
platform builds in the past. I mean, Elizabeth, you've been involved to the last one. If I would sum them up, it would definitely be a few days. And I'm not sure where to send the invoice yet, but that's just the reason why I really don't want to build any kind of C or C++ sources or something like that from source anymore. It's just, whew.
Yeah,
Cross
I
compilation
mean,
sucks there.
yeah, it's not fun troubleshooting cloud builds. Also, yeah, if we're just pulling in APK packages, our build times are lower. I mean, I think spend's always on the Kubernetes project mind. So if we can save money by reducing our build times, then I'm all for it. If it doesn't add any complexity, if it reduces complexity, that's great. So yeah. As far as cloud build,
yeah, also you need to know, so yeah, kind of building the bridge here, because I'm currently working on reworking the Nginx image build in Ingress Nginx. So mostly cloud build, because we're switching to Artifactory registry or AR, however it's called. We are facing an issue now, and so this needs some reworking there. So Elizabeth, if you're kind of taking a look into how it's done in Ingress Nginx, might also be worth to pair with me on this, as I'm also doing. I learned some lessons with Cloud Build, and so I think we could find a quite good way for InGate then.
Sure, perfect, thanks.
yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't worry too much about the cloud build wiring. If it's not there, I mean, if a developer can build it, I think it's fine. We can hold off on making sure cloud builds wired up, because I mean both images are going to need to be built. So
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
In the end, I think we'll just need some kind of interface, because if we really adhere to using such an image, which is involved everywhere, or if we, however, so we kind of need a data plane, that's sure. We need a control plane, that's sure. And so we need to build these images and be able to deploy them in both in testing environments, in CI at least. And so what we have right now in Ingress Nginx is a nice approach, because there we have, even though I don't like them, makefiles for building these images. And these makefiles are pretty good interfaces, because at some point we are building images from Cloud Build to publish them, to promote them. And on the other hand, we are also using these makefiles inside our GitHub CI for testing PRs and whatnot. I mean, we could also integrate cloud builds in GitHub PRs, but there we would probably not be able. Yeah, we would be able, but still having kind of an interface where you are not doing Docker build in GitHub Actions and then Docker build in your cloud build once again, that would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, we can never ensure like I guess we could ensure like what's changed, but I mean, I'm not too opposed to just continuously rebuilding the image. But yeah, that's something we can discuss once we get there. We've got to have something to build first. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, just two quick questions. One, I assume that after this discussion, then we will mostly prioritize installing everything we can through APK. And second, related to my actual first question, I will not add any other module other than the basic ones and NJS. I'm kind of worried about keeping it very minimal, but then having to constantly keep adding modules because users need them. So yeah.
I mean, so I think we just need to figure out if we take a look at like what's in Gateway 1.2 and 1.3 and see it's like what modules these are going to support. So it's like the HTTP module, obviously, for HTTP route.
Yeah.
What do we need for TLS? So we just need to put together a list of what we think is going to be needed. But as new features from Gateway get added and supported, we'll have to add, if it can be done in the module, if it has to be done in the module, we'll have to add it. So I don't think there's any way of getting around at continuously adding modules as we're building it out and as Gateway builds out.
I think there's the main difference, which might make it a lot easier for us. A main difference to Ingress and Nginx, because in Ingress and Nginx we at some point added an API. I would not even call it API, but kind of an interface where people could add annotations.
Annotations,
and
which
with
add
these
modules.
annotations, they then could just write out configuration to the Nginx config, which directly leads to, oh, I want this and that module, I want this and that special feature. It's supported, it's being configured by an annotation. And so I think the module side was mostly defined by which annotations we have around which configuration flags. But with Gateway API and InGate, hopefully we are more in the direction of this is Gateway API, this is Ingress API, this is defining the feature set. There might be annotations, but it's definitely not like, oh, there's a PR and yet another annotation. We need this module, we need this module, we need this module. It's hopefully not going in this direction. And so I think the decisions for which modules to add and which modules we need probably is a lot better. And hopefully there are a lot less modules to be added. So just imagine you won't need mod security. Probably. You won't need
GeoIP.
a lot of weird features we had with the old one. But still, and that's the point, but still I think it would be interesting to have a way so users can still add modules. Because there's the Nginx image we're using. If you want a module, go for it. Still, you need a way to configure it in the Nginx in the end, but that's not.
Yeah, I keep talking about it. So it's like in here, we could probably have maybe in a notes or just add another section like where would this functionality come from? Can it be done with stock Nginx or does it have to be done with a module? So that's something else that we could add when we have this conversation. So I would think we just look in the gateway status and just say, if setting up the backend protocol, it's going to be standard in Gateway API. How would we do that in Nginx? And then how would we set it up? Do we need a module? So this also goes into when we're setting up the configuration, when we're using, I forget what the library is called that Ricardo tried to implement that we haven't implemented yet. Crossplane. If it's done in Crossplane and it's available, right? So that I think that's the way the conversation should go. Is like everything that's in standard that we want to implement, can we do it with stock Nginx, or do we need a module? So I think that's the first thing that you can look at, Elizabeth, if you want to have an idea.
But I think stock Nginx, there is no real stock Nginx, because the one you get from package sources or from is already including some modules, not even only the core one, probably also not only HTTP one, but also others. And if you compile from sources, you can just decide, okay, I don't want any, I just want HTTP, and that's it. So yeah, in the end, and on the other side, we will also have modules like OpenTelemetry, because having some kind of telemetry will be important at some point, and that's nothing we can. I'm not. It should be it should be possible to be installed from package sources. I just remember we had issues with maintenance there. I needed to install it from some was it testing, Alpine testing? Not sure. But yeah.
So
Yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, go ahead.
That's right, go ahead.
No, yeah, just commenting that now that you mention it, I went to see what models does the default Alpine build add, and there's a lot here, maybe even more than we included in Ingress Nginx. So like there's some stuff for Redis. I don't know what this exactly does, but
I think the way Nginx is built, you probably don't have a lot of impact here. So the worst that can happen is that some module has a CVE and therefore needs to be fixed, and so you're more on the safe side if you build your Nginx from sources and did not include this module at all. Sure. But
also lets us patch it too, because
we cannot care for everything. We cannot care for compiling everything on our own. That's just not doable. Also because people, they contribute, they provide pull requests, they want features, and then they are going. And it's us needing to care about bumping versions, making sure everything is compilable, and yeah.
Runs in
from
Kubernetes.
From that point of view, I'm kind of the same opinion. I'm having the same opinion as for the controller, the whole controller runtime thingy. As in, we can basically we can use the native libraries for reconciling and for controller stuff, or we can use controller runtime, sure. And as a maintainer, I just don't want to go too much into details, because time is valuable, and if you don't have a lot of time, just go for the easy solution. And APK add is definitely the more easy solution.
Yeah. Okay. I think that gives you a little bit more direction.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So no need to overdo. From my point of view, I'm not telling. It's not like I don't want to put you in any direction. It's just like, let's start with bare with APK add Nginx somehow, and then let's see where it's going. Having this, from my experience with Cloud Build, having this set up is already, you're learning a lot.
Awesome. So as I was thinking about this, when you said open telemetry, and this actually leads into what I posted yesterday for the Nginx status. There's a line in here. I said, once there's a stable release of InGate, we'll officially put Ingress Nginx in maintenance mode. So this begs the question, right? What's a stable release for InGate? Like, what is the features and functionality that we need? I think we should probably document that. So, like, open telemetry is the thing that kicked off the idea. So open telemetry, all of the features in the 1.2 release. I think 1.3 is coming soon. I don't know if it's come out yet. I know they were just still finalizing it a week or two ago. So there's that. Yeah, that's right now. That's the two things that come to mind. So we can put together a doc and say like, this is what stable release is, and then we can work backwards from that.
Are there conformance tests for Gateway API?
Yeah, there are conformance tests.
So with these conformance tests, we could quite easily go in the direction of stable is as soon as we are conformant to a defined Gateway API version. And we, in the last talk, also agreed on core Gateway API for now. I'm 100% sure this is not what users would expect, because you cannot migrate to stable InGate with just core Gateway API probably. There are probably still a few features missing, but
And that's where
we need
hopefully
to make a step at some point.
Yeah, and that's where the conversation comes in. I think that's the point of Rob and mine's talk at KubeCon London, is that we need to understand what features are missing from Gateway API for Nginx to have like a full migration path. So, yeah, it's great that we can implement 1.2. Those are features that people have already pushed through, but what's missing? What's the overlap? Because we don't want to get into, like you said, like managing annotations and other things that aren't in Gateway that would try to seep into Ingress. So yeah, so that's the thing that we're going to have to manage and just ask for feedback once we do have some kind of a release that people can test with.
Sure.
So yeah, that's a good point. Like what's so I'll put that in the stable. So it's like open things like open telemetry, builds, all the things you would expect, the conformance tests. So I'll add some things in there, and then we can have that discussion, and then just discussing like what is needed for the API, how we're going to do the Nginx reload. I think that's the big thing for me, is just how are we going to reload the backends when we need to, and how that's going to happen. So this is the two docs that I'll at least put together so we can have conversations in there. I don't know when, like I enabled discussions, so I don't know like when we want to move it over to discussions, like maybe once the maintainers have had a crack at things and we want to open it up to the community to have discussions about. I think that's a good workflow. And yeah, that's a lot. Anything anyone else wants to discuss before we break? No? All right, well, I will.
Sounds great.
Yeah. I will see you all in Slack then. Thanks for joining.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.